Hey guys, it is Spring and Nicole. Once again, we're back.
Hello, hello. Welcome. Hopefully, everyone's had a great start to your week. Really excited to talk about today's topic. Came up with a recent experience of mine, so I'm excited to dive in. I'm sure there's a lot of other mompreneurs that are going to be feeling this way.
Yes, so we are excited to dive in. So we'll give you guys just a second to uh, get in and get settled and tell us where you're watching from. Drop us a line.
Yeah. And if you're watching the replay, let us know. We'd love to still connect and communicate with you guys if you happen to catch us on the replay. But today's going to be very real, very raw.
Settled and
Hoping to
tell us where.
make sure that everyone else is if they're feeling this way, that they know that they're not alone. It's very real, and yeah, we'll dive in.
Absolutely. So we'll give y'all just a moment to get in and get settled.
I love to talk about books that we're currently hearing about or reading about while we wait for other people to join.
So, what are you reading?
I finished one called "The Mountain Is You,"
Hmm.
which is like so fitting for most entrepreneur journeys. It's like you're the Taylor Swift song, it's you, you're the problem. Really
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh.
It was really good. It's about like self mastery, a lot of stoicism principles, I would say, throughout the whole book. Essentially, not taking yourself so seriously. Life is short. Do what you can, enjoy it. Don't be
I
so.
would definitely say for me, it's about not taking yourself too seriously because I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I'm always like this, gotta get it done.
Uh,
And then, yeah. And so then everybody's like, Spring, chill, take a
yeah,
step back, like
yeah,
it's okay.
uh huh.
So I'm kind of on that journey these days,
hmm
like just kind of,
Yeah, well, I think when you're more of like consider yourself more a high achiever, always focus on the next thing. You don't really take time to appreciate or celebrate the things that you've accomplished. You're just like, what's next? You tend to like, I feel myself like get tighter, 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 just to make sure I'm on it and doing the most all the time. And I think we can definitely just like cut ourselves off from anything else that's not execution, strategy, business, because it's when you're by yourself, if you're not doing it, it's not getting done.
it's not, exactly, it's not getting done. And that's one of the things that we're going to kind of look at today as we talk about the corporate mom and the mompreneur and some of the differences between that. So let's
Yeah,
go ahead and jump into that,
sounds
Nicole.
good. So I brought this topic up because of a recent girls' trip that I had. I was so excited. I've been planning this all year long. I met up with my girlfriends in Tahoe, brought our kiddos. And I'll just say my girl group is women who are powerhouses. They're all in the corporate sector. Um, some are in banking, some are in marketing, some are in medical sales, but they're all like just kick ass women who are at the top of their game, and taking names after they're done. So I really love this friend group. It helps me know what else I could be doing, how I can elevate. And they're super supportive. Where this issue came up when I started to think about, oh, there's really a difference between women who are working in the corporate world versus women who are building their own businesses, even though we're all very high achievers and, see a lot for ourselves in our lives. It's two different worlds. And although they're super supportive, they had a very hard time understanding anything I was saying when it was coming to building my own business because
Hmm.
they're working for big name companies. And so I started really thinking to myself, wow, I don't feel connected to them in that way anymore. Now that I'm on this entrepreneurial journey, I have one other friend who was doing the same work as me, and we would go dive in and talk about all of the things of building a business, and identifying your target market, connecting with them, and how to serve those people, and what are the marketing trends, what does your operations look like, all the things that my other corporate friends never even thought about. Never even had to cross their mind. Their job was to get really good at that one thing that they do and climb the ladder. So this conversation really comes with a respect for corporate moms. There are lots of challenges that y'all are facing. And this is also just to talk to those mompreneurs who maybe are starting to feel a little bit isolated because you've stepped out of that corporate world. And now maybe your friends are not building their own business and it can feel quite isolating. So that's where this conversation is coming from today.
Absolutely. And it's so different, like you said, because as a as a woman in corporate America, you really get to focus on your niche and your strong skill set, right? But as a mompreneur, you have to kind of do all the things. And
Right.
so that balance is so different and so delicate.
So delicate. And I think a lot of people, when they step into entrepreneurship, they've come, especially like professional women, you come from a space of like, oh, I'm really good at this one thing. And the people I'm currently around in my corporate space, I could definitely do this on my own. Maybe you start to have that feeling. And so you take a step out of corporate, you create your business, and then you quickly realize that that one thing that you are an expert in isn't enough.
It's not enough.
Now you've got to figure out marketing if that's not your thing, and sales and automations, systems. Now you got to figure out how to hire and manage those people, and all the back end things, right? Finance, all those good things that those corporate mamas probably don't have to worry about. And so I think that um, when we talk about the entrepreneurial journey versus the corporate journey as moms, very challenging. It's so different.
It's very different. And then you don't have that team that you had when you were in the corporate world. So, being in the corporate world, you have this team that you surround yourself by that has essentially is excellent in their field as well. So, like, you may be this great marketer, and then you're surrounded by these great salespeople, these great finance people, these great HR people that take on the different aspects of that particular company that you're working for. So, that's never even a thought in your mind how that runs because you don't have to worry about it. And then
Right.
when you step out into your business because you're like, hey, I'm a great marketer, I can probably set up an advertising agency that can make millions because I've made this company millions, right?
Mhm.
So you're like, I'm going to try this on my own. I'm just, for whatever reason, it's not working out in corporate and I just want to see what I can do
Mhm.
by myself. So you go out, you do it, you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to, bring in all these clients, and you most certainly can and probably will. And then comes the end of the year. And then you go to your tax guy, and your tax guy or tax lady says, okay, where are your numbers? And you're like, what? Like, I made X number of dollars. What do you mean? Well, first of all, did you even form an LLC? Are you a sole proprietor? Is
Mhm.
your LLC an S corp? And you're like, huh? I
Mhm.
have an EIN number. Is that what you mean?
It's so true in that first year. You're like, new
Right?
university. Like, what does this all mean? Yeah.
What does this mean? Right? And then let's say you hired employees, right? And you paid them via, let's say, PayPal or Cash App just to get started, right? Because you didn't really want to invest a lot of capital into all these different applications because you really just didn't know how to use them. You really just didn't know what to do with it, right? So then your tax person says, okay, well, did you have employees? Okay, if you had employees, where is your 940?
Mhm.
And you're like, huh? What's that? What do I do with that? So again, all these things that you don't ever have to worry about as a corporate mom, as a woman in the corporate space, because you have these people handling these things for you.
Mm.
Then when you get out into your own business, and it's like literally a train coming at you at 1,000 miles an hour because
Mhm.
you uh, you have this particular set of skills that you know you're really good at, and
Yeah,
that is what you're building your business around.
right.
But not only does it take that specific set of skills to be successful in your business, it
Mhm.
also takes all those other things that you kind of didn't even worry about
Yeah.
having a team around you that took care of it for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I wanna take it back to when you're first step out of the corporate world and you're a mama, and either your kiddos are staying home with you, or maybe they're going to school, going to daycare, and then you come back home to your desk and to your office and you say, "Okay, now what?" Right? So, like, the lack of structure, even being able to manage yourself, which if you're in the corporate world and you're doing really well, you've learned some of those skills for yourself. But when it comes to you are the boss, and there is one thing I really want to hit home on this is there is so much testing and work and late nights and early mornings and failures that come along with this journey that no one ever sees. So you could be working so hard on this, making great progress, but no one's ever going to see it for a long time. Where if you're in the
and
corporate space, you have an established company that you're working for.
right. And what's important to know here, too, Nicole, what you said is that you're doing so much in the background that no one really sees. We learn in corporate America to tie our success to our dollars
Correct.
because as we do more, we make more,
Right.
right?
Right.
But in entrepreneurship, that's
Hmm.
not always the case
Not it. Yeah.
because there's always so much that needs to be done that a lot of times some of the things that you're doing are just keeping you afloat. It's like
It's true.
it's just the baseline. You
Right.
haven't even tapped into the abundance that is to come. And trust me, you have to stay focused, stay motivated. There's going to be challenges along the way. That success will come,
Mhm.
but it just takes a little bit more
That no one
being an
ever sees.
entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really what I wanna hit home is that, if you're at a point where you're a mama and you're working, and maybe you're doing really well in the corporate world and you have these things to kinda, like, show for it, versus if you're a mompreneur, you've stepped out, still taking care of your babies, stepped out of the corporate world, building your own thing, you're building everything that goes into that no one sees unless you are doing really great marketing to start off, right? There's just nothing that everyone can see how hard you're really working. So I just want those mamas out there who are building their business to know that you're not alone. And if you are surrounded by other mamas who are in the corporate space and you are feeling isolated, that's very normal. And like we all feel that. And we're all over here, like we're building our own thing. It looks really small, but we're working really hard and it's growing, but it's growing, at the pace that it's supposed to grow. So it's sustainable. And the patience that has to go into that is insane versus stepping into an established company and stepping into that position that someone else has probably created, right? It's just completely different. I think emotionally, it's very different. Mentally, it's very different. And just to think about like the journey pathway, right? So when you're in corporate, you start at a position and you work your way up. You're going in quite a linear fashion. You may even see someone else who's going essentially positions above you and seeing their pathway. So it's clear, it's, you know, it's clear. You have clarity around that. As an entrepreneur, you are making this up as you go, right? All of your constantly reading, constantly taking courses, learning
Oh
everything
my
you can
goodness.
as fast as you can, because if you're not creating it, there's nothing going to be there for you to move into.
No. And what I always think is really funny is these blueprints
Mm,
that people create that have given them success or the
right,
blueprint that
right,
is supposed to bring you success.
right.
And I want to caution you guys because honestly, there is no blueprint, right? Because every person is different, every business is different. There may be certain things that you can do in terms of sales to like increase your sales, but sales is really a numbers game.
Mhm,
It's about having a clear message, right?
mhm,
But you learn these things on the corporate side as well. And so you have to decide once and for all, do I want to be in corporate? Am I more comfortable with having a regular paycheck?
mhm,
Or do I want to step out and do my own thing because I know that I can and I have more freedom and flexibility over my time?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of challenges and inconsistencies that come along with that. So it really just depends on your comfort level. It really just depends on the support that you have, because as an entrepreneur, you need a lot of support as well. But I mean, you need a lot of support being a corporate mom too, because they can have long days, early mornings, late nights. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, you have to weigh your options and see what's best for you, and know that, stepping out of the corporate world, you were killing it, you were doing your thing, you were making lots of money, and that's what your success was. The more you did, the more you made. Understand that in entrepreneurship, just because you don't see the dollars behind all the work that you're doing, it's not in vain. That work is not in vain. That work is building up to that abundance that is going to come.
Right. And I think that is, you just hit the message, like that is what we're trying to convey, is to help you know that we know as mompreneurs that there is so much work that goes into it, and it will come, right? It's that pinwheel effect. And that if you feel like no one else is understanding that, or they're seeing you work super, super hard and you don't have this giant company right now, know that you're not alone. And so it's so incredibly important to find a community of other business building mamas who are on the same journey, that can truly relate and understand where you're coming from. If you had a really hard week like I did last week, when it comes to my business, like it all of a sudden it'll just come out of nowhere. And it's so important to be able to reach out to people and have that community of other mamas who are, they're dug in, right? They're building their own thing. And if they have a hard week, maybe in corporate, not a huge deal, because you're on salary most likely. And so we love you, corporate mamas. It's just a different journey. And so we just want to make sure that other mama entrepreneurs don't feel isolated when most people around you are working on someone else, or working in someone else's company.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those personal preferences. I don't think that I could ever go back to having someone have control over my time
Agreed.
and where I'm going to work, how I'm going to work, the work that I'm going to do. Like, I've just become so accustomed to creating my own rules and living by my own rules that I don't think that I would fit into someone else's box at this time.
Agreed. Hmm.
But don't get it twisted. I probably quit every other day.
Agreed. Yeah, people don't know the emotional roller coaster that this
Yes.
journey is on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It just, and some days it's like, like, what am I doing? Like, am I even making an impact? Am I even like moving towards something? And then other days it's like, oh yes, you're killing it. This is what you've been working hard for. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But again, when you have to be in a community of women who are kind of on the same journey as you, because otherwise it's going to feel discouraging. Because just being in, I can tell you from personal experience, when I was working
Hmm.
I was in the school system just before I stepped out.
Hmm.
And some people that I knew who were already like doing their own thing, had their own businesses. Um, I was like, well, what do you do? Like, how do you structure your day? Or, just trying to understand how it works.
Right.
And it was like, well, I do what I want. And sometimes I work even harder than what you work, because sometimes when you get off, you go home and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I never turn off. And so I didn't really understand that. I didn't really get it. And I was just like, well, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do that? And they were like, well, it's not just a matter of this or just a matter of that. It's a combination of all of these things. And so it's definitely a learning curve, and it's definitely important to have those people in your corner, because otherwise it's going to seem discouraging as you're trying to figure out this entrepreneurial journey. And there's always going to be people who can help you and tell you their experiences so that you can learn from those things. But if you're only surrounded by people who are not doing what you're doing,
Yes.
they won't have any helpful advice or tips for you, and it will be kind
Yeah.
of
I will say
deflating.
that has been my biggest advantage in business is surrounding myself with other women who are building businesses. And maybe they're 3 steps ahead of me, maybe they're 10 steps ahead of me, maybe they're 2 steps behind me. And I'm able to teach what I have figured out so far, which actually solidifies my own knowledge, right? When we teach someone else. But that has been the key to my multiple years of being in business for myself, is surrounding myself with other women who are doing this thing on their own, or learning how to build a team, or learning to hone in on their services or their target market. So the things that they have figured out and they've shared with me in community in a conversation have been incredibly eye-opening versus watching a YouTube video or talking to my friends that are like cheering me on, but they have no idea what to say to me. Right. So that is really, there's so much value in creating your own network of other mama building entrepreneurs. And lots of women are building businesses, but if they're, or lots of people are building businesses, if they're not a mom who may have kids kind of in a similar season, like we said in previous episodes, their advice may be great business advice, but you're not sure exactly how to implement that into your life, into your season of your life right now. So also finding business building mamas who are doing this while raising a family, it's going to feel so much more realistic and doable and encouraging to also see those examples out there.
Yes, and like Nicole said, it's not just about, the corporate mom, the mompreneur, and the entrepreneur, right? Because all of those things are different. So even if you have a person in your circle who is an entrepreneur, but they don't have small children, that's a completely different life as well, because they have the time and the space to just kind of block everything and everybody out
That's right.
and just grind as hard as they want to, right?
Yeah.
So for us, some days I have this whole plan where it's like, okay, today my day starts at 9 o'clock. From 9 to 10, I'm going to do this. From 10 to 11, I have this blocked off. I have my whole day planned. And then 10:30, the school calls and they're like, oh, hey, the kid is throwing up. Come get him. Or,
It's real.
the weather, there's some sort of weather event and I have to go and get the kids or something like that. And I'm like, oh, well, there goes my day,
Mhm.
because they because my kids, of course, they eat like, I don't even know how to explain it, but when they're home, it's like they're hungry hippos. I'm like, what is going on? Like, use your school stomach. Do you eat like this at school? Like, this is nuts. But that's an interruption, right? So I'm working, and then when I get in my groove, it's like, oh wait, I have to stop. I have to go make lunch, or oh wait,
Mhm.
I have to stop. It's snack time. Or, okay, I got to cut this off now. It's dinner time. I have to
Right.
go and start to create dinner, not to mention the after school activities that
Run them
my
around
kids have.
more. Yes.
Yes. So, again, the corporate world is different from the entrepreneur world. And then in the entrepreneur world, if you're a parent of small children, as opposed to just a person whose children are older or pretty much self-sufficient, those are two different entrepreneurial lives.
Different season of life and different way you have to build your business, different way you have to think about the development part of your business, your capacity, your client load, your operations. I think you're, as a mama of a little kiddo, I am constantly thinking about how do I build for longevity, and how do I build so that I don't have to touch this component manually. So I'm always thinking about automations. I'm always thinking about systems, because I don't want the fact to be that if I'm not working, my business isn't working, right? Because that's not really a business. That's just a job for myself. So I'm always thinking about scalability and systems to back this new product or this new service up. And I think most entrepreneurs are thinking in that way too. But mine is like dire because the daycare could be closed for 3 days this week, So it's more of, instead of like, oh, I'm ready to scale, what are my systems? It's more like, if I would like to continue my business, I have to have systems behind everything that I do. So I think it's just a different mindset too, when you realize that your mom game has to be on point, therefore your business has to be on point, and vice versa.
So today, guys, our message is short and sweet, but You definitely want to make sure that you connect with um, women who are on the same journey as you, right? Or not just women, because men can be the primary providers for the
Right.
kids and family as well. And so you want to connect with people in general who are on the same entrepreneurial path as
Right.
you are,
Right.
because that's just going to ensure your success. It's going to keep you motivated.
Right.
You're going to learn from each other. You're going to grow together. And it just makes the experience that much better.
Mm.
And it opens up your resources as
Yeah.
well.
Oh my gosh, so much. Your network, your resources, your I was watching a podcast the other day, and the entrepreneur who was being interviewed says it's really about realization. It's not just about your self-belief, but it's a fact that when you surround yourself with people who are doing the thing you're trying to do and are in similar circumstances or have come for similar circumstances, it's more of a realization of what's possible that opens up your entire, you know, framework on what you can actually do next. So just surrounding yourself with people who are on the same journey in the same season of life as you and seeing what they're able to do in different ways creates a realization that opens up where you probably wouldn't have had that before. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you are watching the replay, please leave us your thoughts.
Mm.
Let us know. If you have any topics that you want us to cover in the future, let us know. And we want to invite you guys to join our Facebook group, the Mompreneur Playbook, so that you can have a community of like minded women that will support you. That we give tips in there. I just put some information in there about a couple of podcast episodes that would be very helpful for mompreneurs to listen to. So,
Yeah.
you know, check it out. We would love to have you,
Yes.
and hit us up.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Looking forward to chatting again. And again, let us know if there's any other issues, topics you want us to dive into or provide resources for. We love to do that.
Bye, guys.
Bye.